Have you seen what's happening out there? Have you even bothered to look?
They need to be reminded of the order of things. Turn them on each other. One day, somebody's going to have to make a stand. One day, somebody's got to say enough.
I do this. I do it as a man. But you are not just a man.
Release the Kraken!
Welcome to Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the first three films of April 2010, April 2nd to be exact, and we are starting off with the first installment of a new series that I like to call Post-Production 3D Hell. Just pretend there's like thunder and like a lightning mix in the background. I'll do it later on in post-production, but yeah, but this is definitely one of those movies that suffered mightily because of that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, post-production 3D or post-conversion 3D was a trend that happened because digital 3D was becoming the norm in the late 2000s, and especially the early part of the 2010s because of movies like the films we talked about before, stuff like B-Movie, Beowulf, Miley Cyrus, Hannah Montana, U2 3D, The Jonas Brothers, Monsters vs. Aliens, Up, and most notably, Avatar, Alice in Wonderland. These movies that were being... G-Force is another example. Movies that were using these 3D cameras to make the film feel like you're actually part of the 3D in general. And so other studios saw the successes of what Avatar and Alice in Wonderland were doing and basically said, we can do the same thing with our movie. Sir, we already shot our movie. It doesn't matter. Do you see what's popular right now? How to Train Your Dragon just came out. So you know what? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to push back our movie from March 26th to the start of April so we can get a head start on this because we know that we're going to make a lot of money with the 3D in this case. But, yeah, spoiler alert, that didn't really work out well. And we're going to get to several of these over the next couple of years. So, behold the first entry in post-production 3D hell, Clash of the Titans. Perseus, played by Sam Worthington, the mortal son of the god Zeus, played by Liam Neeson, embarks on a perilous journey to stop the underworld and its minions from spreading their evil to Earth as well as the heavens. And going into this movie, I didn't really think much about it, because it's like, oh, it's going to be in 3D, so it's probably going to be like Avatar, Alice in Wonderland, or How to Train Your Dragon, but no. Not this movie. This is the definition of what happens when you do post-conversion 3D, and it looks as bad as this does here, because good Lord, this movie was bad. Not only was the film bad, but to have it look as bad in 3D as it did, I mean, this is unbelievable. And actually, come to think of it, I didn't even see this in 3D. I only saw it in 2D, which I'm just remembering now, because I'm reading my review here from back in the day to give you the review that I have here, but yeah. I didn't see this in 3D, so I can only imagine how bad this movie could possibly be in 3D. But either way, it didn't matter because it still sucked. And and in the end, I ended up using the free movie tickets, so it didn't really cost me anything, honestly, but at the same time, I still felt like I got ripped off watching this movie. I mean, the majority of the visuals in this are just god-awful, all except for the Kraken, which, yeah, that was the big selling point of this movie, and admittedly, yes, it looked badass, but unfortunately, it's in for 2 minutes of a 2-hour movie. It's not worth it. It is not worth it at all. The Kraken wasn't the only thing I liked in there. I did like Sam Worthington, even though it was nowhere near what he did with Terminator Salvation or Avatar. I thought he was passable in here. I thought he did a pretty good job. Gemma Arterton, who was kind of a rising star in the making, she'll have Prince of Persia in a couple weeks, and then later in the year she'll have Tamara Drew. I thought she was fine in here. Liam Neeson and Ray Fiennes are fine for what they're doing. They're great actors, they're established actors, but other than that, though, that's about it. I mean, there's really nothing about this movie that makes it watchable at all. 3 things in particular really bugged the hell out of me about this movie, and I've seen the original. The original is fun for what it is. It's a good fun time overall, but the original was a classic compared to what this was trying to do. Like, one of the 3 things really bugged me about this movie. One, there was that scene with the crazy guy that consistently keeps trying to sacrifice Andromeda, played by Alexis Davalos, to the Kraken, and I get it. They can sacrifice. I understand they got to sacrifice the princess to save Argos, but the guy just kept going on and on and on about it because he consistently tries to get the people to sacrifice him, and they basically, and it got on my nerves because they do it mostly because they probably want this guy to shut the fuck up because he kept doing it the entire movie over and over and over again. Also, hands turn into giant crab-like creatures, which is really fucking stupid. I mean, this has got to be one of the dumbest things ever. Like, this is the worst thing I've seen done to a hand since Hulk Hogan tore somebody's hand off with an envelope in Suburban Commando, and it turned him into an alien. Like, that literally happens in that movie. And that was a movie clearly made to be silly fun. This is supposed to be taken seriously. And then the ending. The ending of this movie where Zeus asks Perseus to consider joining him in the gods, but decides to stay on Earth, and then he resurrects Io, who was killed by Calibos after Perseus got Medusa's head. And so, here's the thing. Zeus can bring people back from the dead, then why doesn't he just use that power to bring back Perseus' human family from the dead as well? Why? Why not do that? Since you're able to bring people back from the dead, why don't you just do the same thing to his family? It's just like I keep thinking back to that terrible comic Marvel, the one that Lynn Caro did on top of Fourth Wall, which made no sense whatsoever. It started off as like a parody of superhero comics, and then turned into this existential crisis of the writer of that book. There's a part in there where the parents Ted Turner is just like, why didn't you why are you sending your kid into the past? It's just like, so it'll give him a great sense of responsibility. It's just like, when you see that in there, it's just kind of like, yeah, you clearly had no idea what the fuck you were doing here. And sure enough, in this movie, they have no idea what the fuck they're doing in here. And this made Percy Jackson and the Olympians look like a better remake of Clash of the Titans than this garbage did. And this is the guy who directed The Incredible Hulk, the one that came out 2 years ago, which was great. But this is just a pile of rubbish. I mean, this is absolutely horrible. And even if I had seen this in 3D, it would still be terrible. I can't imagine how bad some of the effects would have looked in 3D had I gone to the 3D screening of this, but I didn't. I went to this one, and I even regretted going to this one. So yeah, it's one of the worst remakes ever. Clash of the Titans, it just didn't work. It just did not work at all. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, Tyler Perry's first sequel. Actually, that's not true, because the Medea movies are technically sequels, but his first non-Medea sequel. Let's just go with that. Why Did I Get Married To?
This is paradise. This is what we need.
Gonna do amazing first.
You start all of my arguments.
Why? Your book?
So you have all the answers, don't you?
What, you don't want people to know we have a problem? What happened to you?
Hey, man, her brother died in the last year, man. The king of pop is dead already. Cut her some slack. But in all seriousness, Janet Jackson really is actually pretty good in this movie. Also, was it just me, or did that music from that trailer sound a lot like the opening to The Young and the Restless?
This is paradise. This is what we...
Like, I'm really expecting to hear that music. Da 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 da. Da, 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 da. That song coming up in the background, but I'm sorry for butchering the Young and the Restless theme right there. I'm also kind of bringing it up because I just heard it on the radio recently, because I guess apparently that's not the original song from the Young and the Restless. That's apparently a song from another movie in general that all of a sudden just became the theme song that's associated with that show that we all grew up watching when we were sick from school. I mean, you be honest out there. In the 90s, you spent your weekdays lying in bed watching The Price is Right and The Young and the Restless. I was not the only one that did that. Do not lie about that. And the reason why this movie has any kind of memorability, at least to me, was because I'll never forget a couple of years ago when I was sitting in a Red Robin in Monroeville. It was during March Madness, and there was they were playing one March Madness game on the TV on the left, and then on the right they were playing Why Did I Get Married Too? And sitting at the bar were these three old white guys who were just they were so enraptured by what they were seeing. And I've got the video right here to show you. I mean, just the fact that they were so hooked into that scene in Why Did I Get Married Too? I mean, you saw it. All three of them didn't even care what was going on in the basketball game. They were looking at the screen going like, I am very fascinated by this. I don't know what it is. It's like, I just remember that. I can't believe it's been 7 years since I got that video. That was back in 2018 that I got that footage. But, yeah, I just remember that while getting ready for this. But this is Why Did I Get Married Too? And it shares the interactions of four couples who undertake a week-long retreat to improve their relationship. So it's like the more serious version of Couples Retreat, which coincidentally Tasha Smith was in that movie too. You have Janet Jackson, Tyler Perry, Jill Scott, Louis Gossett Jr., Malik Yoba, Michael Jai White, Sharon Leal, Richard T. Jones, Cicely Tyson, and a cameo by Dwayne Johnson in one of the most bizarre cameos I think I will ever see him in particular. But yeah, the first movie overall, I don't remember too much about it. I didn't think it was really that great overall. I just thought it was passable. Honestly, I'd say it wasn't that great, but it's probably one of the better Tyler Perry movies that I've seen, mostly because of the people involved in it, and actually it took itself more seriously than the other Tyler Perry movies did. And this one, I think, is about on that same level in particular. And like I said, I think the real highlight of the movie is Janet Jackson, who really gets kind of a bad rap as an actress. I mean, she started her career off as an actress pretty strongly in stuff like Poetic Justice, which I thought she was great in that. And it's not quite to that level here, but she really is the main person who's holding this together and actually does deliver the strongest acting in the movie in general. But overall, the acting in here isn't terrible per se. I'm making it seem like the movie is awful. It's not in any way, shape, or form, but it is what it is. It's a movie that you expect it to be. It's a sequel that you expect it to be. And because they have some good actors and a lot of good actors in here to make it work, it makes it passable. I kind of like it on the same level as something like the original Why Did I Get Married? Nothing that's really going to be amazing or something I want to watch over again, but the memories of this movie that I've seen in the wild will always be with me forever. I mean, I can't not think of this movie and not think of this again. So there you go. That's Why Did I Get Married 2. So with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to the last film we have here, and that is Miley Cyrus starring in the latest film from a Nicholas Sparks novel. Disney getting in on that cash cow. The Last Song.
Dear Ronnie, please know that none of what happened between your mother and me had anything to do with you. I hope this summer will give us a chance to reconnect. Oh boy. So the word is you're from New York. So what are you doing down here?
My mom shipped me and my brother to my dad's for the summer.
Look, I got bacon here. Got breakfast.
Vegetarian, Dad. It's ridiculous.
Beautiful melody. I'd probably talk about this with a girlfriend if I had one here.
Oh, do you want to talk?
Yeah.
Let's talk. Sometimes you have to be apart from people you love. But that doesn't mean you love them any less. Sometimes it even makes you love them more.
Stop smiling like that. It's creeping me out.
My smile creepy?
Let's see it. Kinda.
So yeah, when this movie came out, it got a bad rap, and most people thought Miley Cyrus was not the right person to be cast in this. I don't know. I mean, granted, I've never read the books that this is based off of, so I can't tell you for certain, but this is the last song, a story where you have a troubled teenager, played by Cyrus, reconnecting with her estranged father, Greg Kinnear, and falls in love during a summer in a quiet southern United States beach town with Chris Hemsworth's brother, Liam Hemsworth, many years before he would become more well-known with the Hunger Games movies. And I'm not going to say it's a great movie overall. I mean, it's pretty much a Nicholas Sparks movie. It's everything you expect from a movie by the guy who made The Notebook. I mean, it's basically Knights of Rodanthe again. It's Dear John again. You got two people who meet, they fall in love, they go through every situation you expect in a romantic drama like this. There's going to be that third act breakup, and then there's going to be something that happens at the end of it where they're either getting back together or there's a tragedy that happens. And yeah, it's not a great movie overall, but I don't think it's as terrible as people make it out to be. It's a passable movie, and Miley Cyrus really is not that bad in here. In fact, she's actually kind of doing a decent job in this role, despite me not knowing much about the character or the story in general. It's weird because the movie wasn't a flop. It made 4 times back its budget. Yeah, four times more than that. Like it cost $20 million to make. It brought back $89 million worldwide. Miley Cyrus's film career should not have died at this point, and yet for some reason, she just kind of went to direct-to-DVD hell for the longest period of time. Like, there were these movies that she was in that either did not get wide release, they didn't make, or they went straight to DVD, like LOL, So Undercover. She had a cameo in The Night Before, but then she kind of started making her way back with stuff like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and Drive-Away Dolls, but yeah, there was, for some reason, I guess she just focused solely on the music. Like, once she got out of that Disney contract, I guess she basically said, fuck it, I don't need to make any movies anymore. I'm going to go spend the rest of my career doing these concerts, which, hey, more power to her, because she's made certainly a lot more money than I'll ever see. But overall, yeah, the film itself is just fine. There's nothing really about it that's that bad or anything that terrible. I mean, I saw Remember Me. That's a movie that's an insulting romantic drama for teenagers. This, it is what it is. It's passable. But then again, keep in mind, I've never read the books, any of these books per se, so I don't know if this is a complete insult to the books and all that, but, ooh, excuse me, I don't know what's going on there, but, yeah, it's just, it's fine for what it is. It's nothing that spectacular, nothing that amazing. I thought the performances overall weren't terrible. Miley Cyrus is fine in here, at least that's all I can give you on that one, but, then again, keep in mind, I haven't read the books, so I don't know how the fan base of the books look at it, but that's all I got for you on this one, The Last Song.
put in your mouth guard. That usually means you're not gonna.
Oh.
How lucky can one guy be?
We can still fool around.
Really?
Let me just get my head around it.
Honey, it's fine.
I'm gonna do some.
Yeah. My wife and I are on a date. We were hoping to get here earlier, actually get a table.
You didn't quite make it, did you?
We'll be standing over there.
Okay, I've already forgotten about you.
All right.
Triple horn? Party of two? Maybe we should go someplace else.
I want tonight to be different.
Triple horn.
We are the Triple Horns.
Great.
Excuse me, Mr. and Mrs. Triplehorn. Get up. Now.
Honey,
Get up.
did you really think you could steal from Joe Miletto? This is just a big misunderstanding. We are Phil and Claire Foster. Hey, God! No, he turned it sideways. Kill shot! That's a kill shot! We are going to die!
I don't want the kids to live with your mother. She's awful. I think I know someone who could help.
Can't believe out of hundreds of clients, you remember this one guy.
Well, I've always been good with names and faces.
Claire Foster.
Hey, man.
I do private security, then with rogue governments, black ops.
You are good with your instruments.
This is the NYPD.
Oh my God, that's them. Intersection. Honey, move your ass!
We're gonna find the Triple Horns.
What are you doing here?
We didn't have a reservation, so we took yours, and now they think that we're you.
You just took our reservation?
What kind of people are you? Not a big deal. They had no idea who they were dealing with. Honey, if I'm gonna get whacked off, what are you smiling about?
No, we might get bumped off. We're not going to get whacked off.
I think we are.
Hello and welcome to Time About the Movies. We're taking a look at the one film released on April 9th, 2010. And because it's only one movie, no fancy intro in the beginning, we're just going to go ahead and jump right on into it. We're going to talk about the big new release of the weekend, which was Date Night. A movie that answers the question, what if Michael Scott and Liz Lemon were married and had the names of one of the families on Modern Family? I'm not even kidding. Phil and Claire are literally the same names as the Julie Bowen and Ty Burrell on Modern Family. I mean, they're literally the same names, Phil and Claire, which I don't know if that was a coincidence or not, but then again, Modern Family was just premiering around this time, and it was owned by 20th Century Fox, so I'm not saying that's a possibility, I'm just saying what I'm seeing here. But anyway, Steve Carell and Tina Fey, they star as a suburban couple whose attempt to reignite their marriage with a night out in New York City leads to a case of mistaken identity, and an escalating series of comedic and dangerous encounters, including the stuff you see in the trailer where they're mistaken for this couple that doesn't show up. They basically think that if they just take they don't show up, so let's go ahead and just take their names in general, not knowing that they're actually part of a huge conspiracy. So imagine the Seinfeld episode where Jerry and George take the limo from the airport, and they have no idea where they're going, and they think they're going to the Knicks game to see Michael Jordan play against the Bulls play against the Knicks, only to realize that the person that they're pretending to be is, I think, he was like an anti-Semite or something like that. It was part of the Nazi party or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but it was something like that in the episode. But it's been a while since I've seen it. But kind of that similar setup here, which, yeah, that is the biggest flaw of the movie, is that the plot is kind of all over the place. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in here where there's nothing really all that clever in the story department. It's basically, if you took that Seinfeld episode I mentioned and mixed it with a little bit of Adventures in Babysitting, except Adventures in Babysitting is a lot more enjoyable than something like this movie is, which it isn't a bad movie. It's a good movie, and it works because the leads are really good. I mean, it's Steve Carell and Tina Fey. I mean, these two, they work off each other so well. You can buy them as a couple, and like I said, they were two parts of the NBC schedule at the time, which was one of the best schedules they had at that point. And, you know, Community, Parks and Recreation, The Office, 30 Rock, I mean, of course they're going to be great together in this movie. And they do work very well here. And the casting overall here is really good. You have a lot of notable names in here. You see a little bit of it in the trailer there. You see Mark Wahlberg, you see Common, you see Jimmy Simpson from Paul Blart Mall Cop. Was it him or Kira O'Donnell? They're both they both look alike. Okay, it's not the same person, but like I said, he and Kira O'Donnell really do look alike. But Jimmy Simpson, Bill Fichtner, Leighton Meester, Taraji P. Henson, like I said, Mark Wahlberg, J.D. Smoove, Kristen Wiig, Mark Ruffalo, James Franco and Mila Kunis, Bill Burr, Nick Kroll, Olivia Munn, Gal Gadot, John Barenthal and Ari Grainer, will.i.am. You have Ray Liotta, who has an uncredited cameo in here. I mean, there is a big cast in this movie, and the big cast in here, I think, really does carry the movie overall and makes it an enjoyable movie on that front there. Yes, the movie could have been a whole lot better had the script been a whole lot better. Hell, if Tina Fey had a chance at writing the script of this, I think she could have made this a lot better. But the writer they have here is Josh Klausner. Josh Klausner would later write, I think, a much better movie in general, with Shrek Forever After, that came out not too long after this. But he hasn't really done anything of true noteworthiness in general. I mean, he did this movie, and then he just kind of left to the side there. But then again, he's married to a Texas oil heiress named Hyatt Bass and a novelist, so he's living the good life right now. So what am I supposed to take away from him? But I think what carries it is Shawn Levy. Shawn Levy is a very solid director who, kind of like with Peter Siegel and Adam Shankman, can make movies that are very generic overall, but he has that charm that can make a movie entertaining regardless of how formulaic it is. I mean, this is the guy that did the Night at the Museum movies. He did the Cheaper by the Dozen. He did the Pink Panther, the Steve Martin movie. He did, what else did he do of late? Well, now he's more known for his work with Ryan Reynolds. I mean, this is a guy that did Free Guy, The Atom Project, Deadpool and Wolverine. I mean, he's usually a director that can very rarely do no wrong. I mean, the one thing that he did that I think kind of sucked overall was The Internship, but as I said before, that movie failed mostly because a bad plot overall, and not even Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson could save it, because the whole movie was basically just like, old guys don't know how the internet works. They have to go work for Google. It's just like, that's literally the entire movie, and it just doesn't work. But Shawn Levy is a guy that, more times than not, can take a formulaic script and make it work. I mean, he did this very early on in the beginning of his career with stuff like Big Fat Liar and Just Married. I mean, the guy is a competent director, and he certainly has gotten a lot better over time, and definitely is somebody that you could trust more now than ever, but he very rarely misses the mark. That one time with The Internship was the one blemish on his record, but this is overall a really good movie. It's a formulaic story. I feel like it could have been done a whole lot better, but it works because everybody in the cast is game for this. They work their butts off, and it just works very well. It works for what it is. Nothing too spectacular, nothing too amazing, but like I said, it works for what it is. Date night, an overall really enjoyable film.
Never try to be a superhero. Dude, if anybody did it in real life, they'd be dead in like a day. Who are you? I'm Kick-Ass.
On April 16th.
Kick-Ass has inspired a wave of superheroes.
I want Kick-Ass's hand on a stick. They can't fly.
You wanna go fight some crime? Oh, that kinda hurt.
They can't see through walls.
Playtime's over, kid.
I never play.
But they can.
Bring it on!
Kick-Ass.
That's right, we're superheroes. You love us.
Rated R. In theaters April 16th.
Welcome to Time About the Movies. Today we're taking a look at the 4 films released on April 16, 2010. Our first movie is, of course, Kick-Ass, which I did not think you could actually use the word ass in the title of a movie. But then again, ass is not just a swear word. It's a term that's literally a term that's used in real life. Kind of like with hell in general. Well, like, a donkey is literally a jackass. A jackass is literally a thing. But then again, I probably should have figured that out when we had the Jackass movies, which, I probably should have figured it out. But this is Kick-Ass, based off of the graphic novel by Mark Millar and John Romita Jr., in which you have an ordinary teenager played by Aaron Taylor Johnson who sets out to become a real-life superhero, calling himself Kick-Ass. Dave gets caught up in a bigger fight when he meets Big Daddy, played by Nicolas Cage, a former cop who, in his quest to bring down the crime boss Frank D'Amico, played by Mark Strong, and his son, played by Christopher Mintz-Plasse, has trained his 11-year-old daughter, Chloe Grace Moretz, to become the ruthless vigilante Hit Girl. And in terms of making a feature-length adaptation of the graphic novel, this is the way to do it. I mean, this is definitely the much better version of a Mark Millar comic book than Wanted was. And I liked Wanted, but this is definitely the much superior version. And it helps by having the director of Layer Cake, Matthew Vaughn, who does a pretty good job of bringing the comic book to life on the big screen, creating this visually impressive universe that looks like something straight out of the book itself. And not only that, they got a really good cast involved in here. The names I mentioned, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Lindsay Finesca, Clark Duke. The two highlights in here really are Nicolas Cage and Chloe Grace Moretz. Like, this is probably the best I've seen Nicolas Cage in a long time. I mean, these movies in particular, they're just, he was making these really bad movies, and here he's back to form. Like, he's back to the way he should have been beforehand. It's just like, why don't you make him more movies like this? Give us more movies like this. Don't give us crap like Next and Knowing and Bangkok Dangerous. And sadly, he went back to doing this as soon as this movie came out. Just like, come on, man, really? But then again, you have a breakout role for Chloe Grace Moretz, who a month ago was in Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Kind of underused here, but in this movie, they use her to every advantage possible. She's great playing this badass little girl who can kick so much ass, no pun intended, and beats the crap out of the bad guys in a way that just looks impressive, ahead of its time, and just freaking hilarious, man. Just like, I love this movie, man. The comedy is great. The blending of both action and comedy is top-notch. Everything this movie does, it does the graphic novel its well service. It has a great director involved, a good writer, a good cast, good action, a great comedy, great visual flair. This is a movie that just works on every single level. This is a perfect, solidly put together adaptation. One of the best movies of the year, one of the best comic book adaptations, just top notch. The sequel, on the other hand, we will save that for 2013, but anyway, that's Kick-Ass. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, the ensemble comedy, the remake of Death at a Funeral.
On April 16th, everyone's coming to the funeral. Look really nice. Dress for a funeral. Yeah. The big death looks sexy. Lorena Devine, Peter Dinklage, Danny Glover, Regina Hall, Martin Lawrence. So you come to a lot of funerals? Might meet the man of your dreams at this one, huh? James Marsden, Tracy Morgan, Chris Rock, Zoe Saldana, Columbus Short, Luke Wilson. Your father fell out like a dead fish and was like, wow. I was like, damn. Death at a Funeral, rated R. In theaters April 16th.
Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised. This was an R-rated. This was all R-rated. I thought this was going to be a PG-13 remake, but no, they were able to make it the same rating that they did with the original film. So there's that. But yeah, this is a remake of the 2007 Frank Oz movie, which it feels really weird to do a remake of a British comedy, not but 3 years after the first film came out. I was really kind of like, wow, you guys are making this. You guys are really, really letting this go on. Like you're not even wasting your time getting this out there. But, lo and behold, here it is. And pretty much the same plot as the original movie. You have a dysfunctional clan reuniting to mourn the passing of the family patriarch, a respectful funeral, quickly turning into an all-out fiasco marked by bitter resentment, blackmail attempts, and scandalous revelations. And literally this has probably one of the most stacked casts you will ever see in a movie. Chris Rock, Keith David, Loretta Devine, Peter Dinklage, Ron Glass, Danny Glover, Regina Hall, Kevin Hart, Martin Lawrence, James Marsden, Tracy Morgan, Zoe Saldana, Columbus Short, Luke Wilson. Just, I've never seen a cast with this much pedigree to it. Like, everybody in here is a recognizable name. Like, there's not a single person where you're just like, oh, it's a one-off character who's just kind of a random character in general. But no, every single name on this list here is somebody that you should be very familiar with. Like, they stacked the cast on this thing. And this comes from Neil LaBute. Neil LaBute had, the last couple movies he did were The Wicker Man and Lakeview Terrace. And this is kind of in that area where he was going more mainstream. And this is easily his best overall mainstream movie, because he did Lakeview Terrace, which, and The Wicker Man, which was complete garbage. But this is definitely the best mainstream film he's done, and it is definitely a movie that is a very flawed comedy. You have a lot of poorly written cliches, like, you see, it's like if you watch the trailer, you see the jokes about Martin Lawrence hitting on a high school girl that get really tiring really fast. There's a really bad shit joke in this that just goes on way too long, involving Tracy Morgan and Danny Glover. Just like, I don't want to see Tracy Morgan get his hand stuck in Sergeant Roger Murtaugh's ass while in the toilet. Like, come on, man. You didn't even need to do that, man. Lethal Weapon 2 had probably the best use of Danny Glover in the toilet you could do with it, but that felt like they forced it in there. Like, this is what I was talking about with the original review. It's just like, it felt like the studio was right behind their back saying, oh, can you do this? Because we have to, because this is a mainstream movie, and we need to have gross-out humor, pointless gross-out humor. But with all that said, I did really like this movie a lot. There are a lot of good, strong performances all across the board in here. I thought Chris Rock and Tracy Morgan were really good. You got a lot of great seasoned actors and actresses here. Martin Lawrence, seeing him in a much different role than usual, and it works for him. Regina Hall, Columbus Short, Luke Wilson, Loretta Devine, James Marsden and Peter Dinklage. This is actually interesting that Peter Dinklage appears in this one as well as the original one. They're sort of connected. You could probably tell that this probably takes place in the same universe. Both of these movies could be happening at the same time, which I find really kind of interesting here. And this is kind of a movie that makes you realize that Zoe Saldana was on her way to becoming a pretty damn good actress. I thought she nailed it out of the park with this movie in here. She really elevates herself to another level with this. And again, you can never go wrong with Danny Glover and Keith David overall. It's a good comedy. I did laugh a lot. It isn't one of the best movies I saw that year. I was actually more surprised at how much I enjoyed it, especially considering after this I watched the original again, and I would definitely say the original is the better film. But in terms of a remake, it's not a bad remake at all. It's a competently made, well done remake. And yeah, that's all you can really ask for it. I think it's very funny. I think it's well done. I think you can watch both of these movies and find a lot of enjoyment value out of both movies in general. But I will say, watch the original first, then watch this one. But either way, you're going to really enjoy both of these ones regardless. So there you go. That's my thoughts on Death and a Funeral. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, which is David Duchovny and Demi Moore in The Joneses.
Oh,
well,
What was that?
just applying myself. Bigger than yours.
All out of player, yo. This whole act just gets to me. You can always just talk to your fake mother.
It's natural that a family has problems.
We're not a family.
A unit?
The Joneses.
The Riches is a show that features Eddie Izzard and Minnie Driver as a couple with three children, and the series begins with Minnie Driver's character just being paroled out of prison, and during her 2-year sentence, she's developed various drug addictions, and they basically go down to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and steal the identity of a family, and essentially try to start new lives under the new names that they have. And I bring this up because this movie is literally the same plot as that movie. It changes it around a little bit, but it is very much the same premise as this movie that I'm about to talk about here with The Joneses. The Joneses is a social commentary on our consumerist society. We have a perfect couple and their gorgeous teenage children, one of them played by Amber Heard. They're the envy of the posh suburban neighborhood filled with McMansions and all the trappings of the upper middle class. Kate is the ultimate trendsetter, beautiful, sexy, dressed head to toe in designer labels. Steve is the admired, successful businessman who has it all, a gorgeous wife, big house, and an endless supplies of high-tech toys. Jed and Mick rule their new school as they embody all that is hip and trendy, cool clothes, fast cars, and the latest gadgets. But all as the neighbors try to keep up with the Joneses, none are prepared for the truth about this all-too-perfect family. And the truth is, they are literally not really a family. It's literally the same premise that I talked about with The Riches, except The Riches was a much funnier show, a much more enjoyable show, and really was one of those FX shows that came and went sadly, and really should have been something that should have lasted longer, something on the same level of Nip Tuck or The Shield. If you haven't watched The Riches, definitely check it out, but this film in particular, yeah, it's literally the same plot as that, except nowhere near as good. And I like Demi Moore and David Duchovny in here. I think they're doing a good job here. I thought Amber Heard was pretty good in here. You got Gary Cole, you got Lauren Hutton. I mean, there's got a lot of good talent in here, but it's hard not to look at this and not think of the show The Riches. If you've seen The Riches, you definitely know what I'm talking about. This is definitely nowhere near as good as The Riches is, and it's just not worth it in the end. You can get a funny line here every once in a while, but honestly, it just didn't do it for me, especially since I watched The Riches in general, and I know I keep saying that show in particular, but I'm sorry. It's literally the one thing I keep thinking of when I'm watching this. Just kind of like, you guys just ripped off a really good show that only lasted a couple of seasons, but I'd rather watch that again than watch this, but I don't know. That's my personal take on The Joneses, honestly, but hey, it didn't do bad with critics. It did decent numbers overall, but yeah, that's The Joneses for you. So let's go ahead and move on to the last one we have here. Banksy, starring in the documentary Exit Through the Gift Shop. From the same man that brought us this lovely intro from The Simpsons. Try to enjoy the next 22 minutes of The Simpsons with that in your mind, but this is Exit Through the Gift Shop. It tells the story of Thierry Guetta, I think I'm saying this name right, a French immigrant in Los Angeles who over several years filmed a host of street artist artwork, including Shepard Fairey and Banksy, but failed to do anything with the footage. Eventually, Banksy decides to use the footage to make a documentary, which includes new footage depicting Guetta's rise to fame as the artist Mr. Brainwash. In addition, the narration reads by Rhys Ifans. The story is largely related to Banksy himself, whose face is obscured and voice altered to preserve his anonymity. Finding Nemo right there. I don't think I need to tell you that. But this is about as much as you think it is with a movie. If you know Banksy's stuff in general, if you know the secrets to street artists and all that, this is pretty much what you expect from a movie like this. And there's been long debates about whether or not this is a film that is basically a genuine documentary or a mockumentary. And when asked if the film was real, Banksy simply said, yes. I think that's all you really need to know about this movie, whether you're going to appreciate it or not. And to be fair, a lot of the stuff they do in this is pretty impressive overall. The artwork is very well done. Granted, it may be illegal, but at the same time, it works because it's a very engrossing documentary about the life of underground artists, and you do get a sense of what their craft is, why they do feel like they need to do this, and it just really works very well in general. And it got nominated for an Oscar for Best Documentary Feature, and it's not hard to see why. It's a very well done, well made film, and I think it is a very interesting take on whether or not you want to believe this is either a hoax or this is a real thing. And I like the fact that they haven't sugarcoated it. And I think it is a very intense and very well-made film in general, and one that should definitely be checked out. It's a very intriguing film, and even with the world today, it's something that is very topical, even by today's standards. But it's a great documentary overall, regardless of whether or not you think it's real or not. Exit Through the Gift Shop, definitely a very good film.
Best friends. Don't you want to help me? Wait, we don't have to have sex, all right? Just, will you be my baby daddy? You know, I just always thought I'd be married with kids by now, but I still haven't found the one. The only one. Good luck. I guess it's time for my backup plan.
Are you high? It says here he has red hair and freckles. I have a feeling that you and CRM 1014 are going to make beautiful babies together. Oh, you don't have to walk like that.
Oh, okay. Hi. Hi. Get away from me! Excuse me, I didn't see you.
I saw you see me.
Forget it, I'll get out. Not because you're right, but because I'm in a terrific mood and you're ruining it. Here's that guy. He's hot.
Hi. Did you follow me?
Follow you? Okay, now this is getting weird.
I know, we keep running into each other. It's crazy.
I know. This is more than you bargained for. Wow. You know, it's more than I bargained for.
You two should get in here.
Oh, no. Come on.
It is really quite beautiful.
I love the fact that as soon as I cut away from that, the next scene was Alex O'Loughlin going, I shouldn't have had to see that. No, nobody should have had to see that. Welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. Today we're taking a look at the 4 films released on April 23rd, 2010. And unfortunately, that's the scene from the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is The Backup Plan. As I mentioned before, Jennifer Lopez is a woman who wants to be a single mother through planned pregnancy, but soon falls in love with a man who wants to father her unborn child, played by Alex O'Loughlin. And as I mentioned before, Alex O'Loughlin was a guy that CBS really was pushing to be the next big superstar. I mean, they were really pushing him in all these different shows. Like, he was in the show Moonlight, which had a cult following. He was in 3 Rivers, which had just been canceled at this point. But then in the fall, he would star in Hawaii Five-0, which ended up being his biggest success overall. And then, surprisingly, after that show ended, he really has not done a whole lot since then. I mean, he's been in movies before this. The Holiday, he was in The Invisible, August Rush, Whiteout. But then after Hawaii Five-0 ended, he just kind of went away. And it's just like, I don't know what happened. I mean, but there was a time when they were really pushing this guy to be the next big superstar. And It just never really happened. But then again, when you star in movies like this, it's definitely not a good, positive direction for your career. But I will say, though, at times the movie has that promise, like that scene in the trailer I showed you where they keep meeting each other, and then Jennifer Lopez turns the season and goes like, okay, this is getting ridiculous. And Alex Wolff's just like, I know, right? We meet each other all the time. It's just like, if there were more scenes like that in this movie, then I probably would have given the movie more credit than it deserves. But no, it's about as generic and as phony as you think it is, and yeah, it definitely does not deliver on the promises that it would have given you beforehand. It's just kind of a lazy comedy, and this is one where Jennifer Lopez really does not look like she wants to be in this at all. Like, too many good people involved in this too. You got Eric Christian Wilson, you see Melissa McCarthy in there before she became a star herself with Mike and Molly the following fall. Anthony Anderson, Linda Lavin. This was actually the last film Tom Bosley did. It was just, as it was released 6 months after, he died 6 months after its release came out. So you expect a whole lot more from them, but this is really the problem with CBS Films in general. CBS Films' biggest problem in general is that it has all these movies that really do feel like pilots for a television show, like Extraordinary Measures felt like the pilot for a television drama, except it had Harrison Ford and Brendan Fraser among the cast in there, so it's going to have some more prestigious names in there. This feels like a rom-com pilot with Jennifer Lopez and Alex O'Loughlin, kind of like a precursor to something like a maybe This Is Us. And the problem with CBS Films in general was that all their movies felt like TV pilots, and that was something that was a problem with them back in the 80s when they were under Warner Brothers. They had those movies like, infamous flops like Windy City, and, we talked about this beforehand with most notably Windy City, but then stuff like Table for Five, Finders Keepers. Then they'd have stuff like Better Off Dead and other movies like that. But it seemed like nothing really had ever changed because the list of films they have here: Faster, The Mechanic, Beastly, The Woman in Black, Salmon Fishing in the Yemen. Not a whole lot of these movies really scream out theatrical releases in general. I mean, none of them really do. And there are some good movies in here. We'll get to a couple of them down the road here, but at the same time, it's just like nothing really from CBS Films really made a big lasting impact. And then again, when you have scenes like the way the trailer ends, it's just like, I'm sorry, gross out humor in general just doesn't work, and it doesn't work if it's written this badly. And that's a badly written scene when you have to use that as the main focal point of your trailer. It's just like, there's nothing funny about that at all. Nothing at all. It also doesn't help that you have a television director doing this, Alan Pohl, who's more known for his work on the show Swingtown, which lasted one season. But he did some HBO stuff, though. 6 Feet Under, Rome, Big Love, The Newsroom. So he does have much better films in general, TV shows in general, under his name. But yeah, this was just nothing that was worth it in the long run. This was just a film that just didn't work. It's a disappointment. It's a really lackluster film. The promises are definitely there. Jennifer Lopez is fine in the movie. I mean, she's not the worst thing about it. Neither is Alex O'Loughlin. I think they both have decent chemistry overall. It's another one of those movies where the script is so generic and so forced, it just ruins the ebb and flow of the enjoyment of the film in general. It just didn't work. So yeah, it came and went. Nobody really ever talks about it anymore. So yeah, that's all you got to say about this one, the backup plan. So let's see if we can turn the tide with our next movie here. Another DC movie and another film with Zoe Saldana in it. We just talked about her last week in Death and a Funeral. Now she's with an ensemble in The Losers.
The CIA's most elite just became.
The losers know too much.
Their most wanted.
That's not like foreboding at all.
Want your life back?
You're gonna have to steal it. We are waging a war against the CIA.
That sounds fun.
Are you sure you've done this before?
Right now, not the time.
The Losers, April 23rd.
It's not just Zoe Saldana is in another April movie. It's Columbus Short. Coincidentally, they were both in the same movie last week, Death at a Funeral. And needless to say, that's definitely a much better movie than this. In 2010, there was this surprising kick of Men on a Mission movie. Let's get all these out here. We have the A-Team coming up, The Expendables, Red, and this is just another DC film that we'll get to later on, which pretty much has that same thing in general, which is pretty much Red. I just mentioned it beforehand, but This is The Losers from director Sylvan White and starring Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Zoe Saldana, Chris Evans, Idris Elba, Columbus Short, Holt Mulcahy, Jason Patric, Peter McDizzy, and Oscar Janeda. It's based off the DC comic by Andy Diggle and Jock, and centers on a mission of an elite U.S. Special Forces unit sent into the Bolivian jungle on a search-and-destroy mission. The team, including Clay, Jensen, Roke, Pooch, and Cougar, find themselves the target of a lethal betrayal investigated from inside by a powerful enemy known only as Max, played by Jason Patric. Presumed dead, the group makes plans to even the score when they're joined by the mysterious Aisha, a beautiful operative with her own agenda. Working together, they must remain deep undercover while tracking the heavily guarded Max, a ruthless man bent on embroiling the role in a new high-tech global war. Judging from the trailer, you get a sense that this is going for something like a Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, Snatch, Rock and Roll, basically a Guy Ritchie movie, which would be fine if this was him directing it, but this is the same guy that gave us Stomp the Yard and I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer. So you can pretty much tell where that goes from there. And that's really the problem with the film in general. I mean, Tim Story was, like how Tim Story was not the best person to direct the Fantastic Four movies, they pick a director that has no prior experience of directing action films like this. And because he has no prior experience of directing action films, he doesn't have any idea how to direct an action film on their own. And because of that, the movie suffers. The action isn't shot very well, most of the jokes aren't really all that funny, you don't feel any connection between any of the main characters, and there are a couple of decent moments in there where Jensen uses his hands as guns as we cut back to another building and it's actually Cougar shooting the guards. That's a cool scene, but even scenes like watching Zoe Saldana using a rocket launcher should be badass, but it's one of the most laughingly bad scenes in the movie because you got this woman who clearly looks like she's way too skinny to hold up this big machete, and you just expect her to go like flying off the building as soon as she shoots the gun off. Spill.com had a great joke of that in their review, and we see Zoe Saldana can be a badass, the Star Trek movies, but this just doesn't feel like a character she should have played as. Wikipedia described Alice as the loose cannon identified by her eyebrow-piercing and tied black hair. Partnering with the losers in the light of the common goal of killing Max, yielding all combat skills with particular emphasis on melee and reconnaissance, stemming from a harsh upbringing in Afghanistan and Pakistan, primarily fighting as a child against Soviet soldiers during the Soviet war in Afghanistan. She's a cold-blooded killer who prefers to leave corpses rather than survivors when she emerges with the enemy. Do you see that when you see Zoe Saldana in this movie? Of course you don't. And they tried to do this again with her the following year with Columbiana, and that movie wasn't that great, but we've seen nowadays that she has gone on to become such a badass with the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and of course with the Star Trek films that came out after that, and so many other ones as well, but this just was not meant to be for her, and you know, the rest of the cast in this is just wasted. Everybody in here, like Idris Elba and Chris Evans, you know they were trying to squeeze something out of them, but the movie hardly lets them do anything because it's wasting its time on this really bad, cartoonish villain. I mean, when Jason Patric's career highlight is Speed 2 Cruise Control, you've had a bad career, man, and they start stealing problems from other movies. They start stealing plots from bad movies, like The Specialist. Like, it's bad enough that you have to steal from a Sylvester Stallone movie, but a movie like The Specialist you gotta steal from? That's a problem. That's a big problem. And, like, I'm trying my best to find something here, but other than that, there's just nothing there. It's a script that wastes a good cast on a terrible script with bad direction, lazy action sequences, a cartoonish villain, and stupid scenes that are more hilarious than intimidating. And you wanna know who wrote this? Peter Berg and James Vanderbilt. Let me get this straight. Peter Berg, who up to his career had directed a good action movie one after another before destroying his credibility basically with Battleship, and James Vanderbilt, who wrote Zodiac, one of David Fincher's best movies, wrote this. Like, these guys have credibility. There's no reason why this movie should be as bad as it is. Like, this is unbelievable how terrible this is. Like, there's nothing. Let me paraphrase Urinating Tree from his Dark Castle review, because this really needs to be mentioned. It's just like, guys, there's nothing really more that I need to say about this movie that hasn't already been said. This is just shit. It's just a bad adaptation, a bad action movie. Wondering why the A-Team was the best of the Men on the Mission films in 2010? Go watch this movie and experience the bullshit for yourself, because that's really what you need to experience with this movie. This is a steaming pile of bullshit, man. I would rather watch Red than I would watch The Losers again. And Red is not a great movie either, but we'll delve into that as we continue on in the year. But let's go ahead and try to lighten the mood here a little bit. It's Earth Day, and the environment needs another Disney nature movie apparently because Earth was such a success last year. So, fuck it, let's take a look at Oceans. Yeah, it's not a good sign that you have this movie that came out and was pretty much forgotten almost immediately. But this is Oceans, written, produced, and directed by Jacques Perrin, with Jacques Clouzard as co-director, and produced in association with the Census of Marine Life, exploring the marine species of Earth's 5 oceans, and reflects on the negative aspects of human activity on the environment, with Pierce Brosnan doing the narration for it as Perrin. And this was a film filmed in over 50 different places around the world and took 4 years to film, and it cost $80 million to produce. And it just barely made that money after worldwide grosses, $82.7 million worldwide. Yeah, I barely remember this movie. In fact, it's funny because this actually opened as the #1 movie at the box office on its first day, and then just got overshadowed by all the other competition. This was a bad weekend for the movies, to the point where How to Train Your Dragon, which had not been the #1 movie for the last couple of weeks, actually moved back up into this spot. I mean, that's how bad the weekend was in general in terms of new releases. And yeah, this film really wasn't helping all that much. I mean, it's not a bad movie, but it certainly isn't as good as something like Earth. It just felt like an obligation because Earth was such a success from the year before, and it just didn't feel like it really added anything new to it that wasn't already seen already. I mean, unless you were showing this on an IMAX screen, then maybe, just maybe, this was worth seeing on a big screen. But there really is nothing in here that makes this stand out or anything that unique in general. It's just kind of there, and there's really not much more I can add to it per se. It's not bad, but it just feels kind of pointless in the long run. But, yeah, so that's all I got for you on that one. That's Ocean. So let's go ahead and move on to this last film we have here. Before Ryan Reynolds was Deadpool, before he was even the Green Lantern, he was in an independent movie where he played a superhero, and that is Paperman.
The world is in peril. When evil surrounds you, when danger...
It's funny enough, that was what Ryan Reynolds was doing every time he was trying to get Deadpool sold by studios. It's just like, they were trying to... He opens the door and he starts going to the superhero talk, and then they just slam the door on him. But, yeah, this is a movie that is, one you may have never heard of, and there's probably a good reason for that, unfortunately. It stars Jeff Daniels as a struggling writer who relies on a childhood imaginary friend to help him with life decisions. And that imaginary friend is Ryan Reynolds as the imaginary Captain Excellent. And there's also a story about a 17-year-old high school student who befriends him, played by Jeff Daniels, played by Emma Stone. And Lisa Kudrow plays his wife in here. Kieran Culkin is also in here. The directors and writers of this are Kieran and Michelle Mulroney. The names you might not be familiar with, but they almost made a Justice League movie before we eventually got to 2017 movie. They were going to do that movie that they were going to do with... I think it was, what was it, George Miller, I think, was going to do it. It was right before the writer's strike happened, and then as soon as the writer's strike happened, it was just kind of like, no, we're not doing this anymore. And so they were the writers on that movie, and they hadn't really done a whole lot since then, and that was really kind of their big thing in general, but they have written some movies. They wrote the sequel to Sherlock Holmes, The Game of Shadows, and they wrote the story for Power Rangers. But other than that, though, it's pretty much all you got for this movie in general. This isn't even really that great of a movie. It's kind of a boring movie, kind of like a boring version of a much better superhero dark superhero comedy, if you want to go down that route. Super, that came out a year later, directed by James Gunn, that featured Rainn Wilson and Ellen Page. Kind of had a similar plot to it per se, is in some areas, but this one was just boring, and really, it's a really lackluster film. It's a movie that really doesn't use Ryan Reynolds all that well. It just feels like he's just kind of there to just be Ryan Reynolds as a superhero, and that's pretty much it. The other characters you can't really get invested in. There's just nothing in here that kind of makes it work. It just feels kind of pointless overall. It just isn't worth it in the end. It's just, you think it's something interesting because it's Ryan Reynolds as a superhero. You may have never heard of this movie, but then again, there's probably a good reason why, and the movie is the movie is not that good. So yeah, that's about all I got to say about this one. That's Paperman for you.
Stay awake.
Wake up, wake up, wake up.
I'm your nightmare. You die in your dreams. You die for real. Oh my God. No, just me. A Nightmare on Elm Street. Rated R, now playing.
Welcome to Time About the Movies. Today we are taking a look at the 4 films released on April 30th, 2010, and that's a scene from, and that's the trailer for our first movie that we have here, the remake of A Nightmare on Elm Street. After they had success the year before with Friday the 13th, they decided to do the same thing to Freddy Krueger, and needless to say, this one did not have the same success factor as that film did. I mean, it still was a hit, but in terms of the lasting impact it had, let's just say that any Nightmare on Elm Street movie that was panned in the past is thanking this movie, because it's no longer the worst Nightmare on Elm Street movie. This one definitely is, and it's a remake of the classic Wes Craven film, where it's set in the fictitious town of Spring. I don't even think they even say it in this movie, do they? It should still be Springwood, I believe it is, but it's set in the town of Springwood, Ohio, and centers on a group of teenagers living on one street who are stalked and murdered in their dreams by a disfigured man named Freddy Krueger, played here by Jackie Earle Haley after being played by Robert Englund in the past. And the teenagers discover that they all share a common link from their childhood that makes them targets for Krueger. Essentially, the fact that Krueger was, in the original movie, it was only thought of that he was maybe a pedophile and a child molester, but no, in this movie they definitely make you believe that yes, he is indeed a child molester, and yeah, that's mainly the reason why the adults in this town decide to just go and burn him alive, and thus we have the Freddy Krueger that we have in this movie. And here's the thing that really bugs me about the movie in general: the main consistent about this movie that's great is Freddy Krueger. Jackie Earle Haley's performance as Freddy Krueger is fantastic. If you're going to get anybody to replace Robert Englund, this is the guy to do it. I mean, he's got the voice, he's got the menace to him. I mean, this is Freddy Krueger back at being the scariest. I mean, the lines in this movie are much more scarier when coming out of his mouth. Like, the one that I always remember is when, you know, he kills one of the kids, and the kid, you think it's all over, and then you see the kid on a hook, and Freddy's just like, you know, the heart can last about 7 more minutes, so we got 7 minutes of heaven. Like, something like that, and just the way he says it, it's just like, that's really well done. That's a really good twist to add into there. Like, yeah, you could die by Freddy, but he's going to do whatever it takes to make any minute you have left a living hell. And sure enough, like, it works. I mean, he's the one consistent about this movie that makes this work. Everything is great about Freddy, except for the makeup. Yeah, we got to talk about that, because as great as the performance is, the makeup is a fucking mess, man. I mean, good lord. When you see Freddy with his makeup, I swear, it literally looks like he just got his face ripped off by a tiger or a monkey. This is the type of stuff you see on daytime talk shows where, you know, the person has a pet monkey and one day they go crazy and rip their face apart, and the face no longer looks like a normal person. It's just like, that's what it looks like in here. It does not look intimidating or threatening here whatsoever. Everything about that performance is great, except for the physical appearance. And yeah, it just looks absolutely horrible. I don't know what they were thinking with that front. But other than that, though, everything, I mean, other than the performance by Jackie Earle Haley, everything else about this movie is pretty forgettable and pretty terrible. The characters are stock overall. They basically redo the story from the original film, except now it's much more darker, it's more of a visual look to it, and even the kills that happen in this movie are not that scary whatsoever. Like, and there's way too many times in the movie where the people who are who's going to be killed by Freddy are just like, stay awake, don't wake up, and it's just like, I didn't know you could be like, wake up, and then all of a sudden it'd be like, nope, you're going to sleep anyway. Like, when has that ever happened in the history of mankind? I mean, honestly, like, when has that ever happened? Like, you keep saying, wake up, and it's just like, nope, not happening. It's just like, it just doesn't make any sense. And again, the kills in here aren't even all that special. They go right down to ripping off scenes from the first movie, and even with the kills they have, it's all just the same kills over and over again. The thing about the original Nightmare on Elm Street movies was that the kills in those movies were much more stylized, they were much more cool, they were more graphic, they were more grisly. In here, it's by the numbers. And really, I think that really is a lot of the major flaws with the film, is that it goes too by the book, and it just really doesn't work in general. And I feel like with more movies, they could have probably done a lot more with it. But other than that, though, it just really doesn't work at all. There's good people all over this movie in general. There's Rooney Mara, Connie Britton, Clancy Brown, Thomas Dekker, Katie Cassidy, Kellen Lutz, Kyle Gaynor. Good actors overall, but they're just really not given a whole lot to do. And again, it doesn't help that the film just goes by with these bland characters, bland kills, and makeup on Freddy that just looks absolutely abysmal, to the point where even Robert Englund has since disliked the remake in general. And he's gone on to reprise the role of Freddy in other things. Like, he was in that episode of The Goldbergs where he put on the makeup again. And kind of like with Friday the 13th, yeah, this was a hit when it came out, but the negative reviews prompted the studio to just say, we can't make any more of these movies. And yeah, they've never made another movie since then. There's never even been talks about another reboot since this one. And that just goes to show you how much nobody gave a crap about this movie. From the people who made it, to the people who went to go see it and then quickly forgot about it. It's the worst of the worst. It's the worst thing to come out of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and it's not even close, man. This makes movies like 2 that weren't as memorable, more memorable now, and more enjoyable than whatever this disaster of a film was trying to do. And also didn't help that Wes Craven was nowhere involved in the project, and he was still alive at the point, but he could have definitely helped this movie out a whole lot better. But then again, he would follow this up the next year with Scream 4, which, why did I say that way? Scream 4, and that didn't work out very well either. We'll get to that next April, but in the meantime, this movie, yeah, it just wasn't worth it. Despite Jackie Earle Haley giving it the best to his abilities, it's still not enough to recommend this movie, so, yeah. Avoid this one like the plague. So, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is something that this trailer wants to claim is more scarier than Nightmare on Elm Street, Furry Vengeance.
Welcome to Rocky Springs, future home to the greenest community ever built.
Do you know why they call me the King of Green? Because I love this planet.
So you're gonna take out the whole forest?
Yeah!
But we're replacing it with a shopping mall with a forest theme.
This is an opportunity to do something good for our family and for the environment.
How is ripping out the forest good for the environment?
The only thing standing in the way are the locals.
Hey, go away.
You can't run.
Okay, Private, on my camera. We're gonna charge up that bridge.
You can't hide.
The animals are out to get me.
What animal are we talking about?
There's more than one of them. I think they're in cahoots.
This is insane.
Shut up!
You can't escape. The furry. Summit Entertainment and Participant Media present...
We're gonna pour $100 million into the local economy.
Dad, we've got to do something.
Dad, you're building on a nature preserve, and nature's ticked off.
You're telling me that the animals are trying to get me to stop developing Rocky Springs?
I think the animals are out for revenge.
Why are we all screaming? Like, seriously, that whole trailer is nothing but animals and people just screaming at the top of their lungs. People just using phrases that don't make a whole lot of sense. You know, when Brendan Fraser sees a rock about to hit him, it's just like, Miley Cyrus! It's just like, really? Like, you can't, and if you still thought that that you didn't think this movie is taking anything seriously whatsoever, perhaps this will make you start to realize that.
Who wants a new Wii? Huh?
That's probably the most memorable scene in the movie. Why is he screaming about a Wii? Why is Brendan Fraser holding a Wii like it's a product placement? I mean, like, everything that you could think of that is wrong with this movie is in this fucking movie. The story is hoping to make enough money through an overseas employee to live comfortably. Real estate developer Dan Sanders, played by Brendan Fraser, manages to convince his son and wife to relocate in a remote corner of Oregon. Tyler does seem content after he meets with lovely Amber, but Tammy is concerned about her husband when he near hysterically claims that local creatures, including beavers, ravens, bears, fox, etc., have joined forces to sabotage his project. You also gotta love how the trailer starts off with him literally saying, "The animals are out to get me," and then the wife is just like, "Oh, you're completely talking out of your ass," and then as later on down the road, it's just like, "Yeah, I think you're actually ruining on their things." It's just like, where the fuck were you at the beginning of this? Like, you can see why Brendan Fraser decided to say, you know what, William Morris, you guys did enough for me, but this is a career killer for me. I've got to get the fuck out of here and away from you. And he moved over to Creative Arts, the CAA, which didn't really help until very late on down the road, but just be grateful that Brendan Fraser has won an Academy Award in the 15 years since this movie came out, because this thing could have easily been a career killer. You know what this is, honestly? This is a Brendan Fraser Surviving Christmas, or this is his Geely. This is the movie that is the bottom of the barrel for his career, and it could have easily destroyed his career in general. And he found a way back. It took a lot longer than Ben Affleck did, but at least he found his way back, and now he's an Oscar winner after saving his career pretty much. But yeah, I'm not going to defend this movie whatsoever. Even if it's on a so bad it's good level, it's still not worth watching. It's a movie that you look at it, it's clearly what it is. It's a mess. It's a disaster of a movie. It's a film that has to resort to nothing but screaming CG animals, bad comedy, lousy effects, gross out humor, just lazy pop culture references. Just, am I getting through to you? Furry Vengers is a fucking terrible movie. Avoid it like the plague. So with that said, let's go ahead and try to move on to some much better movies. Here's Michael Caine as Harry Brown.
You told me to talk to the police, and what did you lot do? Nothing.
As far as I'm concerned, Harry Brown's doing us a favour.
Did you go on guard?
You failed to maintain your weapon, son.
If you tell Master Wayne this, I'll bloody bury you. Of course, this is Harry Brown, and of course Michael Caine was Alfred in the Batman movies, but here he plays a widowed Royal Marines veteran who has served in Northern Ireland during the Troubles, living on a London housing estate that is rapidly descending into youth crime. After a violent gang murders his friend, played by David Bradley, Harry decides to take justice into his own hands, and it's essentially a British version of Death Wish. I mean, it's literally the equivalent of Death Wish in general, but certainly a lot better than the Death Wish sequels, and honestly, it's not a bad movie per se. It's a film that is what it is. It's Michael Caine going around shooting young criminals, people who deserve to get their comeuppance. It's basically a modern version of Death Wish, and a good version of Death Wish. I mean, Michael Caine's pretty good in here. You also got Emily Mortimer, Ian Glenn, Jack O'Connell in here, one of his early film roles. And this is produced by Matthew Vaughn, one of his first films after Kick-Ass, and it's a really good movie. It's a film that delivers what it promises. It's a film that you gotta go knowing into it that it's just gonna be like Death Wish. But if you want a movie where instead of Charlie Bronson, it's Michael Caine in it as the man who's going around killing people, it is what it is. It delivers on what it promises, and it's a pretty good movie. It's definitely one I'd say definitely check out. Harry Brown, not much more to say about that one. So let's go ahead and move on to our last movie, and that is definitely the grossest of the 4 movies we have this week. And as I said at the beginning, this is one where even Freddy Krueger would take a look at this and go like, Jesus Christ, dude, lighten up already. And you'll see why in just a minute. This is The Human Centipede, the first sequence. I mean, good lord. I mean, I didn't think they were going to show it in the trailer for it, but then again, this might be one of those restricted trailers, but yeah, they show you it in the, yeah, it's much more terrifying than anything else we've looked at this week. The film concerns a deranged German surgeon who kidnaps 3 tourists and conjoins them surgically, mouth to anus, following the eponymous Human Centipede. It stars Dieter Lasser as Hofe Heiter, and Ashley C. Williams, Ashlyn Yenny, and Akira Kitamura as Hater's victims. And I don't know what would convince this director, Tom Six, to say, I want to do a movie where I can sew 3 people together from mouth to ass and just watch the chaos happen. And someone out there said, sounds good, keep talking. And okay, maybe it was because it was an independent movie. Because this is released by IFC Films. It was a Dutch film, too. So, then again, that kind of makes sense overall. A Dutch film with this type of a storyline here. And this was picked up by IFC Films, who acquired it after they saw that Fright Fest released it. And it didn't even do well at the box office. Really, I couldn't imagine why. Why would anyone want to go to the big screen and see a movie like this? But it did find life through home entertainment. On DVD and Blu-ray, it did go on to find success there, and I guess that's why they made the sequels after this. And trust me when I tell you, those sequels are much, much worse compared to this. I mean, it's a bizarre idea in general, and it's an idea that just makes you go like, you know, it's like that scene from Clerks 2 where, you know, they have the donkey show going on in the restaurant, and Rosario Dawson's character goes back in there. It's just like, goes back in the restaurant, she's just like, I'm disgusted, I'm repulsed, and yet I can't look away. It's just like, you look at it, it's just like, this is absolutely horrible, but there's just something that just keeps your mind invested on, just like, I hate this, but it's fascinating to watch. Like, it's definitely one of the most bizarre movies you will ever see in your entire life. I mean, this is a film that is going strictly for the gross out, and at least in this first film, it's a fascinating watch. Does it make it a great film? Oh God, no. It's one of those movies where I would literally say, you need to be, if you're extremely squeamish or you don't like really bad gross out, like, this is definitely a film I would say avoid this one like the plague. But if you are willing to accept crazy imagery like this, give it a shot. I mean, it's a movie that is so bizarre and so out there that it makes it worth it in the end. But I would never recommend this, people, to anybody who I don't think would find a movie. If anybody out there is extremely squeamish, I would definitely say avoid this one like the plague. But as it is, if you're willing to watch dark stuff in general, sure enough, this is probably for you. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you on this one here. This is pretty messed up in general, no matter how you think of it. But that was of course The Human Centipede, the first sequence. So after that lovely, delightful note, we're gonna wrap this episode of Time About the Movies up here.